Captain Rogers, I ordered you to stay out of this.
Girl, you need all the help you can get.
From pulp pages and radio crackle to disco-era lasers, Buck Rogers keeps boomeranging back whenever pop culture tries to retire him. He's the time-tossed pilot who refuses to stay parked, reinventing himself with every decade, sleeker, stranger, and somehow still familiar. Tonight, we're rolling back the hangar doors to uncover the quirks, contradictions, and hidden gems that made his 25th century revival unforgettable. Buck wasn't just revived, he was remixed. Stick around, we're counting down 20 weird facts you probably never heard today. Fact 1. The future started on paper. Before Hollywood, Buck blasted out of print. In 1928, Philip Francis Nowlan's novella Armageddon 2419 AD imagined a World War I veteran waking in the 25th century, trading trench mud for jetpacks, ray guns, and skyways. Within a year, newspapers seized the spark. The Daily Strip put Buck in lunch pails and living rooms, turning tomorrow into a habit. Radio gave him a voice. Kids tuned in and pictured chromium horizons. A decade later, Buster Crabbe's 1939 serial turned dime novel futurism into Saturday thrills, proof that pulp could leap to screens without losing its grin. Before star cruisers and hyperspace clogged theaters, Buck taught audiences how to look up and expect adventure. Comics, broadcasts, and matinees weren't side quests. They were the launch pad. The cameras would catch up to him. The fuse was lit, and the blast wave was coming. Fact 2. A TV pilot that crashed the box office. Universal greenlit a 2-hour TV pilot, then pulled a stunt, trim, polish, and drop it in theaters like a real feature. On a modest budget, it earned serious cash, and a quiet test became a mandate. NBC wanted weekly liftoff. Audiences met a snarky, swaggering Buck, a magnetic Wilma, and a shiny 25th century built from recycled parts and pure confidence. Success created complications. The theatrical cut flirted harder and talked rougher. Broadcast standards sanded edges, swapped the sultry opener, and even spared a villain fans had just watched explode. Continuity bent. Ratings beckoned. That strange double life, movie first, series after, gave Buck an origin unlike most TV heroes, born as a pilot, baptized at the box office, then refitted for prime time. And the ripples kept coming, because once you sell tickets, you don't go back to being just a pilot. Fact 3. Ranger 3 had a real-world twin. Long before Buck's cryo mishap, a real Ranger 3 already wandered the void. NASA launched the Ranger 3 lunar probe in January 1962, but a guidance glitch sent it past the moon and into a lonely solar orbit. So when the series straps Buck into a ship called Ranger 3 and flings him off course for centuries, the name hits with an eerie ring of truth. Was it a wink at aerospace history or just a slick, pulpy label? No one involved ever nailed it down, and fans still argue the odds. Either way, the parallel does heavy lifting. It grounds the fantasy in a headline you could have actually read, and it makes Buck's Lost in Time feel less like magic and more like a mission gone wrong. Fiction didn't just predict reality here, it borrowed its scar, and coincidence changes everything. Fact 4. Gil Gerard's fight for tone. Gil Gerard didn't arrive as a marquee movie idol. He arrived like a test pilot who'd slept in the cockpit. That read changed Buck. Instead of a stiff pulp throwback, he played a present-tense guy waking in tomorrow, curious, skeptical, and allergic to non-stop punchlines. Behind the scenes, Gerard pushed back whenever the tone tipped into pure camp, trimming quips, nudging dialogue towards straight-ahead heroism, and arguing that Buck should inspire as much as he entertains. Writers bristled, but the friction gave the character edges, a soldier's resolve, a hint of hurt behind the grin. That push-pull shaped Season 1 and set up Season 2's pivot for the better. Love or hate the shift, Gerard's insistence kept Buck from becoming a walking wink. He wasn't a mascot in spandex, he was a flyer out of time, trying to deserve the uniform. Fact 5. Wilma's hair, studio rules, and a quiet rebellion. Erin Gray signed on as Colonel Wilma Dearing, expecting a rare combo: command, brains, and sleek hero energy. Then came the studio's note, go blonde. The belief lighter hair read as friendlier on network TV. She complied applied for Season 1, delivering steel under a smile, while rumors swirled that producers briefly tested one in clay as a replacement before circling back to Grey's authority. By Season 2, she pushed back, returning to her natural brunette and proving Wilma didn't need peroxide to lead. The change wasn't just cosmetic, it mirrored the character, navigating a male-run command, earning respect on results, not appearance. Fans followed either way, and Grey later called Wilma a role model for herself as much as for viewers. Image might open doors, performance keeps them open. Up next, a cameo that ties the 1930s serials directly to the disco-era cockpit. Fact 6. Yesterday's Buck saluted tomorrow's. Buster Crabbe didn't just visit the set, he time-traveled. The 1939 Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon before that returned as Brigadier Gordon in Planet of the Slave Girls, trading lines with Gil Gerard like a baton pass across decades. One sly quip about doing this before Buck was born landed as both joke and coronation. For older fans, it unlocked matinee memories. For new viewers, it validated the reboot with pedigree. Crabbe's presence also reframed the show's tone. Beneath disco shine, Buck was a continuum, not a copy, and it proved the franchise could blend nostalgia with now without stopping the story cold. The cameo never winks too hard. It simply lets the past stand in the room. That handshake between eras made Season 1 feel bigger than its budget. Up next, the glittering opponent who stole scenes and strategies, Princess Ardala. Fact 7. Ardala wasn't just glitter. Princess Ardala wasn't just sparkle. She was strategy wrapped in sequins. Pamela Hensley played her as a conqueror who understood leverage, flirt when useful, threaten when faster, and make Earth want what it fears. Her entrances were events, all chrome crowns and razor smiles, yet the character worked because she kept winning battles, outmaneuvering councils, baiting Buck, and forcing Wilma to counter on her terms. Paired with the calculating Kane, Ardala turned palace scenes into chess problems, not pin-ups. Network sensors blinked at the costumes but missed the point. She projected power, not decoration. Viewers leaned in because she complicated Buck's victories. Temptation and danger arrived in the same outfit. That's why she lingers in memory. Glamour with agency. And just when the dynamic peaked, something strange happened. The movie version and the TV cut split her edges in two different ways. Fact 8. 2 edits, 2 personalities. Universal released Buck twice, and the vibes split down the middle. The theatrical cut winks, sultry opening montage, flirtier banter, rougher language, and a colder edge. Tigerman doesn't walk away. The TV version cleans the cockpit. Swears vanish, innuendo softens. The credits lose their Bond-style sheen, and continuity bends, so fan favorites survive. Same plot, different pulse. One sells a popcorn romp with nightclub swagger, the other fits a family hour built around recurring heroes and reset buttons. Viewers who saw both remember a curious deja vu, like watching two timelines argue over who Buck really is. That split personality shaped expectations for the series. Bigger when it could be, safer when it had to be. And it set up the next weird reveal. One sidekick wasn't one performer at all, but a tag team bringing the most quotable voice in the galaxy. Fact 9. Twiki was a duet. He looked like one character, but Twiki was two performers welded into a fan favorite. Inside the chrome shell shuffled Felix Silla, a veteran stuntman whose compact frame, careful wobble, and sly pantomime gave the little robot real body language. The voice, though, came from legend. Mel Blanc. Yes, the man behind Bugs, Daffy, and an earlier space send-up, Duck Dodgers. Blank's clipped, rhythmic biddy-biddy patter turned Twiki's lines into catchphrases kids repeated at recess. Then came a blink-and-miss switch. Early in Season 2, Universal briefly used Bob Eli to voice Twiki, and viewers noticed the personality shift. Blank returned soon after, and the spark snapped back. That hiccup explains why some episodes feel like the same robot wearing a different soul. Next up, another production curveball, the Emperor you saw on toys but hardly on TV. A villain edited into a rumor. Fact 10. The Emperor who disappeared. Joseph Wiseman, the first big-screen Bond villain, was cast as Emperor Draco, the mastermind behind Earth's enemies. He filmed full scenes, not just a hologram tease. Then the scissors came out. When Universal reshaped the theatrical pilot for television, most of Draco disappeared. What should have been a commanding antagonist shrank to quick flashes and a flicker on a screen. The strangest twist? Marketing had already sprinted ahead. Early toys, box art, and promo stills leaned on Draco's look, so kids met the villain on shelves more than on prime time. Viewers expected a chess master. They got a rumor. Years later, Wiseman returns in Vegas in Space, but the aura never matches the promise. It's a perfect Buck Rogers oddity, a marquee actor turned myth by the edit bay. Next, the future gets built from spare parts, and another, franchise's leftovers. Fact 11, built from Galactica's bones. Universal didn't build the 25th century from scratch. It raided a nearby future. When Battlestar Galactica was cancelled, its prop barns brimmed with vehicles, consoles, and miniatures. Buck's crew rolled the armored Landrum onto new sets with fresh paint and new insignias and called it Tomorrow. Cockpit panels, throttles, and hero switches migrated too, giving Earth defense craft that familiar Galactica industrial vibe. Even Ranger 3's shuttle miniature began life on a Galactica chute, refitted, relit, and suddenly a 20th century launch to a 25th century problem. Effects teams recycled explosion plates and star fields, squeezing big spectacle from TV money. Fans spotted the DNA immediately. The shows looked like cousins trading flight suits. It wasn't laziness, it was thrift with style, and it worked. And when the storerooms finally ran dry, production went hunting for tomorrow in real glass and steel. Out in the city, you could actually visit. Fact 12. Tomorrow was hiding in plain sight. Buck's future city was often the real world with a clever angle. The Bonaventure Hotel in Los Angeles did heavy lifting. Its mirrored cylinders, glass walkways, and soaring atrium read as off-world architecture the moment you tilt the camera upward. Exterior passes at modern complexes doubled as Terran hubs. Interiors landed like embassy halls from a cleaner century. Titles and transitions leaned on authentic Apollo launch footage, stitching Buck's fiction to space history with a plume of real fire. Even Expo 67's futuristic pavilions in Montreal, optimism poured into concrete, became ready-made backdrops once you framed out the signage. Matte shots, reflections, and fast edits finished the illusion. For viewers who recognized the landmarks, it felt like a magic trick. The 25th century hiding in a place you could book on a weekend, which set the stage for a bolder trick, changing the show itself mid-flight. Fact 13. The show that reinvented itself mid-flight. Season 2 hit the brakes, swapped the skyline, and set course aboard the Starship Searcher. Instead of flirting with villains of the week, Buck, Wilma, and Twiki went quest-style, hunting for lost human colonies and running into moral puzzles about ecology, prejudice, and identity. New faces signaled the pivot. Dr. Goodfellow's twinkly humanism and Hawk, Tom Christopher's solemn avian warrior who stole scenes by just standing still. Uniforms toned down, Earth defense faded, and Princess Ardala basically vanished. Some fans loved the wait. Others missed the neon swagger and sci-fi sparkle. Ratings cooled, but the swing proved Buck could shed his disco skin and try on classic exploration without breaking. The franchise didn't just survive contradiction, it depended on it, and while America debated the shift, another battle was brewing across the Atlantic, a Saturday night showdown that rattled a British institution. Fact 14. A Saturday night shock in Britain. When Buck Rogers landed on Britain's ITV in 1980, it taxied straight into a turf war. Saturday nights had long belonged to the BBC's Doctor Who. Tom Baker's scarf, eerie theme, appointment TV. Then ITV rolled out Buck's chrome and neon spectacle opposite it. Sleeker ships, bigger explosions, cheekier charm. Families started surfing channels. For a stretch, Buck siphoned a slice of viewers, enough that the BBC blinked and tinkered with scheduling to steady the TARDIS. It wasn't a knockout, it was a jab that stung. The clash exposed a generational split. Kids dazzled by dogfights, parents loyal to time travel puzzles. In living rooms, remote controls became referees. Buck didn't topple the Time Lord, but for one season, he proved primetime sci-fi could be a ratings dogfight, not a coronation. And amid that heat, the show lured a run of scene-stealing guest stars. Fact 15. Guest star time capsule. Buck Rogers turned primetime into a revolving door of scene stealers. One week, Jerry Orbach slid in with that velvet menace, part fixer, part impresario, scheming from backstage while Buck chased the spotlight. Another, Jamie Lee Curtis, still blazing from Halloween, dropped in for Unchained Woman, playing it cool, competent, and way tougher than the cuffs suggested. Then came Gary Coleman in Cosmic Whiz Kid, a 493-year-old prodigy with deadpan timing who could outlogic half the adults in the room. The show loved contrasts. Noir gravitas next to pop energy, sitcom charm beside pulp danger. Even when the plots zigged, the casting made each hour feel like an event, a little time capsule of late 70s and early 80s TV faces passing through the 25th century. And just when the guest list peaked, continuity did something only TV would dare. It brought back a villain you'd already watched fall. Fact 16. Death TV style. In the theatrical cut, Tigerman dies. Buck plants the charge, the fortress erupts, and Ardala's hulking enforcer is finished. Then the series hits NBC and he's back, loyal as ever, as if the blast never happened. No cloning twist, no miracle rescue, just continuity bending around audience appetite. Producers did the simple calculus. Tigerman looked iconic, moved with mythic weight, and gave Ardala's court real menace. Remove him, and the chessboard lost a key piece. So the TV version quietly rewrote reality, the way prime time often does when a character tests through the roof. It's one of those small but loud contradictions that make Buck Rogers so rewatchable. Parallel cuts, parallel outcomes. It also previewed the show's bigger habit, choosing fun over strict canon. That choice split critics, but it planted the seeds of cult devotion that would blossom long after the network pulled the plug. Fact 17. From worst lists to cult canon. Critics weren't kind. Papers sneered bargain bin Star Wars, pointed at rubbery aliens, and crowned space rockers a low point. Yet time does strange alchemy. What once read as camp curdled into charm. The tonal whiplash started feeling like personality. Fans began quoting Twiki's patter, trading Ardala screenshots, and defending Season 2's moodier detour as an ambitious swing. Rewatches turned the show into comfort TV with spikes. Cozy, yes, but capable of sudden weird brilliance. Conventions-filled panels, podcasts, mind production quirks, and the same episodes mocked in the 80s became midnight staples. That's cult math. Flaws you can love, plus moments you can't find anywhere else. Buck never became pristine. He became personal. And when something becomes personal, it collects artifacts, which is exactly what happened next, because the toy aisles went supernova before the ratings burned out. Fact 18. Merchandising went supernova. For about 2 years, Buck Rogers looked ready to conquer toy aisles. Licensors cranked out 8-inch and 12-inch figures of Buck, Wilma, Ardala, and Twiki. Starfighters and draconian ships blasted onto shelves as model kits and vehicles. Lunchboxes, puzzles, and board games turned living rooms into New Chicago. Ads framed the brand like a TV-sized Star Wars. Bright logos, chrome angles, missiles you definitely weren't supposed to shoot at your sibling. The problem wasn't the merch, it was momentum. Season 1's buzz moved units, but Season 2's tonal pivot and short run cooled kids' obsession fast. By 1981, displays shrank, then vanished. Decades later, that brief boom became collector gold. Carded figures, ship boxes with wild art, even oddities like Emperor Draco turn up at auctions with serious bids. The TV wave receded, but Buck had one more marketplace to conquer: the arcade cabinet glow. Fact 19. The arcade kept him flying. By 1982, kids who'd watched Buck met his name again on a louder stage: Sega's Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom. A blistering rail shooter with faux 3D corridors, it threw enemy waves while the horizon warped like hyperspace. Strangest twist? You never actually saw Buck, only a sleek craft threading neon lanes at impossible speed. Didn't matter, the marquee did the selling, the velocity did the rest. Arcades hummed, hands learned the rhythm, and allowances evaporated a quarter at a time. Then came the living room invasion. Ports on the Atari 2600, Commodore 64, and ColecoVision carried the brand into bedrooms where score chasers ran past bedtime. For a generation, Buck wasn't just a hero. He was cabinet glow, sound wall, ritual. Inside that ritual sat the franchise's secret weapon: survival by reinvention, setting the stage for reboot rumors and rights battles to come. Fact 20. The 21st century cliffhanger. Buck's strangest twist happened off-screen. In 2020-21, Legendary set out a prestige revival. Brian K. Vaughan scripting, Angry Films producing, and Smokehouse. George Clooney and Grant Heslov executive producing. Clooney even floated as a possible star in early chatter. Then the estate fired back. The Nolan Family Trust sent a cease and desist and championed a competing path with Skydance, turning one reboot into a tug-of-war. Courts described a multi-year, multi-lawsuit, multi-party war, and Pennsylvania rulings in 2023-24 kept procedures churning over who gets to steer the rocket. The result? Development heat without out a clean launch window, proof that Buck still inspires not just storytellers, but legal dogfights. If he returns, expect a modern remix, born from paperwork and passion in equal parts. For now, the 25th century waits just off camera. From pulp ink to arcade glow, Buck Rogers kept reinventing himself and dragging the future along for the ride. These 20 oddities reveal a franchise powered by contradictions, camp and grit, thrift and spectacle, nostalgia and reinvention. That friction is why he lingers. He's proof pop culture isn't linear. It loops, reboots, and borrows its own past. If Buck blasts back again, it won't just be a comeback. It'll be the next remix of a hero who refuses to land.